It'd be tough for me to hear like us talk about Black Lives Matter and someone say like that's just political like BS, you know, like why are we talking about this? We should be talking about softball. Or even people commenting, you know, like oh, get politics out of sports or just things like that. It's really tough and it like hurts my heart. The one thing that I want people to know is that it's more than just a couple words. It affects how people can actually live their lives. It's literally how people are being forced to live our lives in fear.
What would you want somebody who's newly open-minded to know about the Black Lives Matter movement?
One, that the movement is different from the organization. Two, we are constantly fighting for not only equity, but just fair treatment.
When it comes to Black Lives Matter and the movement, and all those that are supporting, and all those that are pushing, all those that are truly trying to drive change in this country, I want people to look at me and see a human being that just happens to play softball. Try to look at these athletes, see them as people, and see the fact that their lives are inherently in danger. And just because we can throw, hit, catch, toss a ball does not separate us from that reality.
Please see the struggle. A lot of times, I think people will try to divert the conversation by bringing up something else, instead of really looking at the issue and really like hearing the struggle and just saying, I hear that struggle and like I haven't seen it before, but my eyes are open to it.
When we talk about Black Lives Matter, we're not saying that other lives don't matter, but we're saying that we matter too, because we aren't treated as if we do. And then when people say all lives matter, well, how can they matter? Because Black lives don't, so how do all lives?
How do you maintain a level head when having those discussions? How do you not get frustrated? Because a lot of people don't know how. And also, how do you communicate with people who have opposing views?
I feel like I have been able to really decipher like who's worth my time and who's not. So there's conversations when I realize like this really isn't worth my time. So I just take myself out of the situation, because no matter what I say to you, nothing is going to change. But those people that are open dialogue and I know that they're actually listening and they want to know and they want to change, like those people I can have those conversations with. I know that I have the option to either educate or take a second for myself. And that's been the biggest thing, is understanding that, okay, you can have you do have a second to make sure your mental health is okay and that you're approaching the situation correctly. That's been a big thing with me, and I think people that I'm on the same page with is knowing that we're gonna have to swallow it sometimes. We're gonna have to just swallow that lump in your throat, because it hurts so much, because it's my life we're talking about.
You're having to set the example for little girls. You're having to speak on behalf of the Black community in matters dealing with social injustice, and that can be a heavy, heavy load. Do you ever get to the point where you're like, I can't do this right now? Like, how much is too much for you?
Yeah, there has absolutely been times where I'm just like, I can't talk about it anymore. I'm on the phone with Tosh, I'm like, I don't want to talk about this. And she's like, well, what do you want to talk about? And I'm like, honestly, I just don't want to talk, because I can't talk about anything else, but I don't want to talk about this. So I find myself just kind of making sure that I'm doing what I can to self-care so that I'm not in a funk.
Really staying off social media has been one of my biggest things. Staying out of comments, just doing my best to not look at any comments. And then other mental health things is just taking time to feel myself as a human. So taking walks, journaling, writing about my emotions, being okay with not being okay, and knowing that that sadness, anger,
being frustrated is all part of being a human. So if I was to ignore those things about my life, I would be dehumanizing myself.
We've been pleasantly surprised on some people stepping up on behalf of Black Lives Matter, especially considering many didn't in 2016. So can you talk about the importance of allyship and how our allies stepping forward helped the trajectory of us getting some type of justice?
I think it's extremely important for our allies and our co-conspirators to be on the forefront with us, because when our voices aren't necessarily being heard, we know that their voices are going to be, simply just because of the color of their skin. There's a lot of people who are okay with where things are because it doesn't directly affect them. But for people who have the heart to understand, like those are a lot easier conversations because they want to learn, because they haven't necessarily experienced those things, or they didn't even realize they were saying certain things that might have been offensive. And I feel like for a lot of people it's a learning curve because they were in their own world and didn't necessarily understand the things that are happening because it doesn't directly affect them.
When we first got our Black Lives Matter mask, I remember looking across to the other team on the foul line before the game and like seeing everybody wearing the Black Lives Matter mask, and I think there was only one black girl on the team. I was like, it's game time, just keep it in, just don't let it go, just don't even think about it, like it's amazing, like just don't cry, just don't cry. Like I love every single woman here. I love them all, and I love their backgrounds, and I love their stories, and I love what they stand for. And I respect them, and for them to just put everything aside to support and be an ally is just one of the most amazing things I've witnessed as being in the softball community, is to see that people really do stand with me and stand with us and stand with my community. Everyone preaches love and everyone preaches peace, but that is love. Allyship is love. To feel loved back is just a different kind of feeling that I don't think can ever be replaced.